Hi, I'm attorney Tammy Saltzman, and you are watching Divorce Connection Network. Today, I am so pleased to have with me Nancy Brodzki. Nancy and I met recently. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Tammy.
We met recently, I guess about 2 or 3 years ago, through the Collaborative Divorce organization in Broward County, which you can find on our website. Nancy is a collaborative attorney, a family law attorney, and her practice is in Coral Springs.
Correct.
How long have you been practicing, Nancy?
I am in my 29th year of practice.
My God, 29 years and counting. Nancy has joined us today to talk about a very interesting topic: same-sex unions, marriages, and divorces. So this is a topic I know nothing about. I have not ever represented a same-sex couple, so I am just as interested in you are to hear what Nancy has to tell us today. So Nancy, how are you?
I'm great. It's
Good.
great to be here. Thanks
Thank you so much for coming. Tell our audience about your practice in the area of same-sex relationships and give them some tips that they should be thinking about if they're entering into a relationship, but mostly if they're divorcing.
Well, it's a very continuously changing area of the law, as you might imagine. As of this moment, and I have to say at this moment because every day new opinions come out, as of right now there are 19 states that recognize and or permit same-sex marriages. There is litigation that has already rendered opinions from courts in 11 additional states that are going to allow those states to both recognize other same-sex marriages and to perform same-sex marriages in those states. You may be aware that several years ago, Florida was the last state to eliminate its ban against same-sex couples or gay and lesbian individuals from adopting children, even though they were allowed to foster them. So this has been changing practically on a daily basis, and in Florida, it is changing even as we speak.
So you created a distinction that I just want to make sure our audience understands. You said that there are states that recognize same-sex marriages, and then there are states that perform same-sex marriages. So
Correct.
As the distinction goes, and I just want the audience to make sure that they understand, in the state of Florida, we do not perform same-sex unions here, nor do we recognize same-sex unions from other states. So if you get married in a state that allows same-sex marriages and then you move to Florida, Florida will not recognize that union.
Correct. In fact, there are couples who are married. I am lesbian. I was married in Toronto, Canada in 2007 when Massachusetts was the only state in the United States that permitted same-sex marriage. My marriage is not recognized by the state of Florida. It would be recognized in the 19 states that now recognize and perform same-sex marriages, including New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California. The list goes on. Every day we add a new. Pennsylvania was the latest state to join the list.
You can follow Nancy on Facebook at Nancy Brodzki, and she is posting everyday updates about what states are passing those types of laws. But let's talk about, just briefly, to be recognized, how important that is, because that kicks in benefits that a married couple would be entitled to that you're not entitled to in the state of Florida. Shame, shame.
It's true. There are over 1,000 federal benefits to being married. And
including a tax deduction.
Including taxes. Now, since June of 2013, when the United States Supreme Court issued its opinion in the Windsor case, the federal government is now recognizing same-sex marriages regardless of where they were performed. And you can file now as a married couple on your taxes for 2014. I have filed my first federal income tax return with my spouse for the tax year 2013, and I believe we got hit with the marriage penalty, which is but we'll take it. We're glad. In addition, immigration has been directly impacted, and it was impacted on the very day that the Windsor decision came down, where now spouses can apply for legal status for one another, and immigration deportations were halted in process when that decision came.
Wow.
So that was really, really big.
Now, I know that some employers, larger employers, allow even a male that you're living with, cohabitating with, and not married to, you can sometimes add them on to certain health insurance benefits for some of the larger firms in South Florida, even though South Florida doesn't recognize that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. Especially in Broward County. Broward County was one of the first counties in Florida to have an ordinance that required any company that was doing business with the county to offer domestic partnership benefits. Broward, Palm Beach County, Miami-Dade County, many counties in Florida have domestic partnership registries, which allows domestic partners, whether they're same-sex or opposite sex. And the truth is, most domestic partnerships are heterosexual seniors who can't lose their Social Security benefits by getting married. So they choose domestic partnerships as a way to preserve their Social Security benefits. And they take advantage of the domestic partnership laws as well. But there are many things that same-sex couples need to do in the state of Florida to protect themselves until Florida reaches that magic moment when it recognizes same-sex marriages. And I'm happy to say that there are 4 different lawsuits pending right now in courts throughout the state of Florida, including one federal court case in the Northern District out of Tallahassee, 2 cases in Miami-Dade. There's my case pending in Broward County, and a case in Tampa, all challenging the state bans against same-sex marriage. And so it really is just a matter of time, probably before 2014 is finished, before we will have an appellate decision that strikes down both the statutory and constitutional bans against same-sex marriages in Florida.
You know, it's very exciting to be sitting here watching history happen. I don't think people realize, but as each state takes on same-sex marriages, we're watching the world that we know change. I am so proud that there are people in this state that are fighting these rules that are really religious rules. They're really ridiculous rules, and it has nothing to do with loving someone.
No, and the courts that have addressed this issue have uniformly, not a single court has upheld a same-sex marriage ban. This is virtually identical to the antiquated laws that kept blacks and whites from getting married. A famous case from 1967 out of Virginia is the Supreme Court case that said Virginia could no longer deny marriage licenses to interracial couples. And people find it hard to believe that, but that used to be the law in almost all of the states in the South. And the Supreme Court said you can't, marriage is a fundamental right, and you must have a very significant reason to discriminate against your citizens in allowing some of them the right to marry and some of them not to.
Let's get to the few things that you think same-sex couples need to do right now to protect themselves.
Well, the first thing to do is go get married. You do not have to be a resident of a state to go get married there. I was married in Canada. I had never been to Canada until I went and got married there. None of the states require you to live there as a resident prior to being able to get married. So you can go to any of those 19 states and the District of Columbia and get married, and any of the other foreign countries that permit same-sex marriage, and get married, come back to Florida. You are now married in the eyes of the federal government in the other 19 states. The other thing you need to do is you need to have a will. Inheritance rights are governed by state law, while inheritance taxes are both state and federal. So while the Windsor case in the Supreme Court was all about estate taxes, but the lesson for Floridians is have a last will and testament, because you do not have spousal rights as other married couples do for purposes of inheritance. And possibly most important, same-sex couples are having children. And there are now safeguards for those families if they use in vitro fertilization. The Florida Supreme Court has now authorized that the same laws that applied to heterosexual couples in becoming parents through in vitro fertilization also have to apply to same-sex couples. But adoption is available. I assisted in the first same-sex couple adopting one another's children in Broward County about 2.5 years ago. You can adopt one another's children, and that is the way to protect your parental rights until such time as Florida recognizes your marriage. Right now, as we sit here today, you cannot get divorced in Florida if you are married to a person of the same sex. I am briefing that for a judge right now in Broward County, and we will have a hearing in several weeks where I expect that this judge is going to strike down the state ban.
Well, Nancy, I'm so glad you came on. This is so exciting. Promise me that you'll come back again in a few months and give us an update.
I'd be happy to.
So if you want to reach Nancy, please go to our website at divorceconnectionnetwork.com. Her contact information will be available. You can log on to her website. She's constantly blogging and writing articles about this issue. And if you need any help, if you are a same-sex couple, do not hesitate to give Nancy a call. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Tammy.